People who born deaf. How's your inner voice sound? Or you just speak sign language in your head? I asked my niece this. She said she had an inner voice, but it was more a feeling than a voice. She described it as feeling the vibrations from loud music when she had her surgery. And she heard voices for the first time. Not deaf. But my brother is. I remember when we were in our teens on a family vacation and I caught him signing to himself when he was bored. The first time I saw it I thought he was telling me something, but I noticed he wasn't making eye contact and it made no sense. That is when I realized he was thinking to himself. After that, my family and I wouldn't watch when we noticed him doing it, since we figured it wasn't fair to know what he was thinking at times when the same couldn't be said for him. My mom is profoundly deaf and I asked her this same question. Totally not a stupid question. She said she thinks in ASL. I have caught her signing to herself just like I sometimes talk to myself. That must be so annoying when you are trying to think out loud while folding your laundry. For the first 5 years of my life I was technically deaf. I couldn't hear anything. I remember thinking by closing my eyes and imagining the thing I wanted to think. So I would close my eyes and see my own imaginary world. I can still do it, but only in complete silence. It's a trait I will forever hold, but I'm not mad at it. It can be very helpful in some situations. Edit: a lot of people are wondering, so I'll put it in the post. My eardrums collapsed during birth, so when I was around 5 I had a surgery to fix them. Not sure how they did it or if the doctors are still doing it on people, but I'm grateful they did it to me. It should be noted that, even among the hearing, not everyone has an internal monologue. I'm not sure why people are making fun of you. It's a legitimate question and I hope someone deaf can explain. But most thoughts we have are conceptual and they are not in words. So if they don't have an inner voice, I don't think they're missing much. But I have no idea if that's the case. Was born profoundly deaf. Wore hearing aids from 6 months old and replaced it with a cochlear implant at 15. I only have one. Don't hear out of the other ear unless I opt to get another one for bilateral hearing. I was never taught how to sign. I was raised in a hearing world. People don't even realize I'm deaf most of the time until they see the implant. I'm a bit of an outlier, I guess. I'm not involved in the deaf community, though I do have a couple of deaf friends who both talk and sign. My voice sounds a lot cooler in my head than what it really is. Probably the same for most people, lol. I recently learned that deaf people, at least in my country, often speak sign language as their first language and do not appreciate the assumption that sign language is just a signed form of the country's language. The two languages usually have different grammars and morphology. I think your question is very interesting, OP. I just wanted to add to it. Maybe this helps understand that not everyone has an acoustic language as their inner voice. I think it's hard for a hearing person to grasp this concept because language is so bound to sound for us, but as Steven Pinker said, we shouldn't make the mistake of mixing up thought and language. Most of our thoughts are more diffuse than language. I'm not deaf. But when I was learning ASL I began to think in ASL where essentially I could feel the muscle memory of the signs in my head. For example, without actually moving. Think about what it feels like to raise your hand, clench a fist, or write with a pencil. That mental sensation of a recalled muscle movement was how ASL thoughts felt to me. Don't know if this is the same for deaf people, but I found it super intriguing when it started happening to me. Fun fact. I'm not deaf or born deaf. But I've recently learned that not everybody, even with intact hearing, has this voice in their head. I was baffled as I always thought everyone has a voice if they're thinking. Not deaf. However, a coda, child of deaf adult. Sign language was my first fluent language. And I didn't learn to speak until kindergarten. Anyways, my inner voice thoughts are spoken English. However, the one thing that's in sign language is spelling. Whenever I have to spell something, in my mind I process it in sign language. I also physically sign it discreetly with my hand to my side. I think it stuck with me because as a child I was often finger spelling words I didn't know. The way we conceptualize thought differs from person to person. Some people have inner monologues. Some people don't. I imagine deaf people are more likely to not have an inner monologue. Yo YTF, everyone's so mad about this, the dude asked a question. Literally everyone. Stop being an arsehole to OP. Me only seeing positive comments. Wait. You guys hear a voice when you think? Yes. I have follow-up question related to this. Do people who are born deaf pronounce the words they read in their head? Or do you simply see the word and imagine something related to it? I have read that their dreams have people make hand signs. So I guess their mind voice will also be more physical based. I once learned a new language with unique script due to necessity. To increase practice I would mentally write the word I hear to acclimate what letters are there in the word. 10 years hence, even now though I don't use that language that much, when someone speaks words I make a mental picture of writing those words. Not sure if those are related. 50% of the population doesn't have an inner voice and sees everything in picture. So let's say somebody wants to go and get milk, I'll say it out loud in my head, other people will see themselves getting milk. Some people don't even have an inner voice. This is a great question. Now I really want to find out what the answer is. Great question. Would have to check back later to see if anyone answered you. Edit. And I am also curious as to why people are downvoting this ARPS question. Anyone? Wow, people feel like being arseholes today. I've always wondered this question myself. It's not a dumb question. It's legit. I wanna know too. My parents are deaf. I asked them and they looked at me like I'm crazy, so they probably couldn't hear you. Deaf profound ear. Did surgery on right ear at 2. Later left ear at 14 or so. I have inner voice whole time. Never ASL. I learned basic of ASL in high school. So not surprised. Consider I start hearing sound when very young. It's a good question. I suppose it's related to how we was raised. If we was raised doing ASL, then we might ASL in our head. Otherwise voice.